Okay, so turns out my dad and my mom ended up walking Pokey. So they're on a walk right now, so I'm just gonna stay in the kitchen until I head out and continue reading on what this chapter has. Okay, let's. Condition their growth estimates for firm on information revealed by competitors on pricing policy and future growth. Okay. Analysts sometimes have access to private information about the firms they follow that may be relevant in forecasting future growth. This avoids answering the delicate question of when private information becomes legal inside information. There's no doubt, however, that good private information can lead to significantly better estimates of future growth. So the Securities and Exchange Commission issued new regulations preventing firms from selectively revealing information to a few analysts or investors. Okay, that's good. Outside the United States, however, firms routinely convey private information to analysts who follow them. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Okay. So apparently, analysts that follow these global companies back in 2006, I'm not too sure how it's changed now, but it seems like a lot of the companies, maybe not a lot, but there are companies that wouldn't mind giving private information to investors who, or maybe analysts who follow them. So that's interesting. Models for forecasting public earnings. Ignore other publicly available information as useful in forecasting earnings. It has been shown, for instance, that other financial variables such as earnings retention, profit margins, and asset turnover are useful in predicting future growth. Earnings retention, profit margins, asset turnover are useful in predicting future growth. Okay, so things to learn What is asset turnover, earnings retention? Oops. So the advantage gained by analysts from firm-specific information seems to deteriorate as the time horizon for forecasting is extended. So maybe says the in valuation, the focus is more on long-term growth rates and earnings than on next quarter's earnings. Okay. I see. So even though analysts are better at computing or forecasting growth in more recent or shorter time periods, Damodaran's making the claim that in the grand scheme of things, the next quarter usually doesn't really matter that much, and it's really the long-term growth of a company that kind of really defines its value. So valuation, the focus is more on long-term growth rates and earnings than on next quarter's earnings. There's little evidence to suggest that analysts providing superior forecasts of earnings when the forecasts are over 3 to 5 years. Okay, yeah, that's exactly what we're just talking about. All right. An early study by Craig and Malcolm compared long-term forecasts by 5 investment management firms in 1962 and 1963. But then again, this is back in 2006, so I'm sure that this has changed a lot since then. So why is the growth rate in operating income should be lower than the growth rates in earnings per share? Why? What is an exogenous? What does exogenous mean? Relating or developing from external factors. So an outside factor that affects value by this divorce from the operating details of the firm. Soundest way of incorporating growth into value is to make it endogenous. That is to make it a function of how much a firm reinvests for future growth, the quality of its reinvestment. Consider the relationship between fundamentals and growth and equity income. The simplest relationship determining growth is one based on the retention ratio. Ratio plus return on equity. So higher retention ratio plus higher ROC, return on equity, is equal to high value. Is equal to, high growth. Percentage of earnings retained in the firm, so I guess that's free cash flow to equity. Free cash flow to equity minus dividends. I would assume that's how you can measure it. So, and then we divide that by the net income. Oh, retention ratio is equal to retained earnings divided by net income. I guess it's okay. So retained earnings is a measure of earnings that you keep within the company. I have to go use the bathroom again. I'll be back. Okay, parents are back. Gonna end the stream here probably. Bye.